For a man such as myself that owned an SSL console for about 4.5 million years, it is incredibly strange how underappreciated SSL have been on the channel. And we're going to do everything in our power to rectify that. So, how the devil are you?
How you doing, Warren? Lovely
Good to see you, Ross.
mate. Yeah, likewise, mate. Likewise.
What have you got that's new?
So, we've had a very exciting NAMM this year. We have launched the first ever 1U rack mount USB audio interface from Solid State Logic. SSL 18.
Wow.
And this reason it's special is it's the start of a new era in rack mount technology for SSL. This unit is 26 in, 28 out, high performance USB audio interface. It uses our latest generation of 32-bit converters. The digital teams, the digital design teams, the analog design teams, they have gone to absolute town on this. The specs are insane. It sounds fantastic. I mean, if you're interested, jump over to the product page and you can look at all the numbers. But as far as a feature set, we're billing this as the new industry standard 1U interface. It's 1199, and you get 8 SSL designed mic pre's and line inputs with that. You get 10 analog outputs on the rear.
Nice.
Inputs 1 and 2 have dedicated send and returns. So if you want to track with a compressor in line, clunk clunk,
Lovely.
you can do that. Full monitor controller. So you've got your cut, alt, talk, but you can also reconfigure the buttons in the SSL 360 software. So for your dim, sum, mono, all that goodness. Dual headphone outputs. Which you can alter the impedance on each. So if you've got IEMs, you can alter the impedance, or if you've got large overheads, you can alter it. Make sure you get the best out of them. Full suite of digital I/O. So we're talking dual ADAT I/O, SPDIF, word clock. It's a beast.
So you can daisy chain.
Yeah, all of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you speak of daisy chaining. We've actually previewed this NAMM show Alpha 8. Now this is, as you see, it's part of the new rack mount range.
Yep.
This is a 8 analog line level in, 8 analog line level out converter. 10 digital in, 10 digital out. It's got a full analog digital routing matrix
ADAT connection between the two.
all of that. So if you want to expand an existing interface, Alpha 8 is a great option. Now the icing on the cake for me, there's 2 really cool things about Alpha 8. All the outputs are DC coupled. So if you are a synth head, and if you've got a modular rig and you combine it with, say, CV tools in Ableton, you've got 8 channels of CV modulation, gate, clock.
Lovely.
Further to that, each analog input and output can be altered between +9 dBu to +424 dBu individually. So if you've got some vintage equipment, I don't know, an old drum machine or a sampler, or you can change input to, say, +9 dBu. If you've got a high-end compressor or you do mastering, you can then bump up, say, input 7 and 8 up to +24 dBu. So super flexible, great expander for existing interfaces, or it's got integrated USB-C anyway.
So how am I adjusting it, looking at the front panel?
So it's a series of toggle switches. Okay. So you've got your inputs here, your outputs there, and then you can say, right, I want input 1 and 2 to go to digital 1 and 2.
Okay.
And it's a full routing matrix, so it's kind of anything, anywhere, really.
Okay, amazing.
Yeah, we're really excited. You're looking at $1199 for the 18, and you're looking at $899 for the Alpha 8.
That's awesome. It's really, really cool. So what do you got here? This is new.
So, speaking about the console, this is a channel strip from the console with a couple of really cool features that I want to get you up to speed on. So, if you take a quick look over here, this is the 16-channel 32 classics. You have transformer balanced mic pre, 32 CEQ, and all of your usual kind of accoutrements, shall we say. Mix strip takes one of these channels and puts it in 19-inch rack form.
Very nice.
Whilst adding a integrated mix bus. So what I mean by that, I'll go through the channel left to right. So you have Jensen transformer balanced mic input, dedicated line input, and you may notice they have independent gain pots, which I love. So you can dial in your line level for summing, and then you can keep your mic gain at however hard you want to hit the transformer. You have your usual kind of utilities, phase flip, insert point there, 48V pad. Classic Harrison filters. Now, the low pass has a 3 dB resonant peak, so it's got a lot of character, a lot of flavour and colour to it. and it interacts a lot with the 4-band EQ. So you can start doing the tailor.
That was the SSL trick, though.
Yeah, yeah.
Dave Jordan told me that. Always boost and cut the same frequency.
You got
so
it.
You're going to get that. Whip.
You got it. And then a little bit of phase distortion sweetens up the top end, and just makes it sound a bit lusher. There is a lot of magic that happens when they start interacting. So it's 4-band parametric EQ, proportional Q. So a lot of character in that. The harder you drive the EQ, the more it'll pinch. So it's got a lot of personality. And then, as I say, the integrated mix bus. So you've got a fader per unit. You've got pan per unit, and then you've got your mix bus that'll hit. And then we cascade the mix bus across as many units as you like. And then the last one, it's output on a stereo channel.
Lovely.
Yeah, really cool. So you can scale your setup as you go. Great if you want a, 8-channel sidecar for tracking drums on Harrison. Yeah. Brilliant.
Excellent.
Yeah, really
Great.
cool.
Thanks ever so much.
Right, cheers.
How much are they?
$2,000.
$2,000. Excellent. So here we are. We're at Z&H or Z&H, depending on what side of the Atlantic you're on. And I'm with Wilfredo. How the devil are you?
Nice to meet you. Hi.
Yeah, good to see you.
Glad to see you too.
So what can you tell us?
Well,
The floor is yours.
Z&H Audio is a company based in UK. We have designers from UK, from Argentina, and also from Italy. Now we are worldwide. We're working closely with many designers all around and producers around the world.
Beautiful.
And here we are.
So what have you got?
So basically what we have here is all discrete mics preamps.
Yeah.
This one, for example, is beautiful. This is a very transparent line.
Yep.
Specialized, let's say, for maybe orchestral, where you want to catch all the real essence of the instrument. It's a very powerful preamp, which you can get up to 70 dBs of gain.
Okay.
And we have this option, for example, where we have 8 preamps, and then this one here, which can allow us to get some coloration. It's a bit different. We can have a little bit from both sides.
Yep.
Transparent preamp if we need it, and we can add some color if you also want.
So is that just color from driving it hard, or?
Yes, and then also we can add some.
I wonder what that was.
Taste here, and then if you can print a different character of the preamp, and then if we just turn it up, then we have a very transparent preamp with 70 dBs of gain.
And this is Zen to hit. Is that just the out?
Exactly.
Yeah, they're right.
Exactly.
I just never. Yeah, I was like Zen hit. So that's the name. That's the Z. That's the Z and
there
the
you
H.
go.
Okay. Zen hit. All right.
Exactly.
Zen and hit. All right.
So we have here the selector for the DI. 48 volts. Mad. Then inverse the phase.
Great. What frequency is the high pass set?
It's 120.
120. Okay.
Exactly.
Cool.
And then if we move down here, this is our new line. I have to mention that from here, all the products can be personalized. So you can print your own color, you can print your own stuff, and you can choose even the colors of the knobs, the plate, and also if you can see here, this is the same recreation that we have of the API 12 preamp. Sure. And then we print different colors, different layers, and you can personalize it in a nice way. This is a new coming up. It's a preamp where we have the 9K thing, which is going to add some mojo and details. And this is our little brother of this bass, which is our Suntech recreation of the mythical equalizer. So we have these two little bad boys, where we have only 4 bands, but we replicate pretty much the same circuit, the same sound.
Okay, great.
And then these are also our parametric section. Really nice on snare, drums. This is fantastic to put it on vocals. It's very transparent, and it's a very interesting EQ. I love it to put it on the vocal chain and then just give that high end. And here we move to our bad boy areas. So we have an octo compressor here. It's stereo, dual stereo, mono, and we can link it, work it in mono, separate, and then also we have here the flag section, the high pass filter. Yep. We also have here in and out. We can make it work slow and fast, adding some more versatility to the compressor. And then here we have the ratio. We can just change it and have a very versatile octo compressor. So if we move here, we have an 1178 recreation of the mythical compressor. This one, in my opinion, is one of the best.
I've always loved 1178s. They were very ignored for years. When I was a kid, everybody hated them. Everybody hated them. It was like, and now, of course, everybody's realizing just how wonderful they are. On stereo room mics,
yes, sir.
Freaking awesome.
Absolutely.
You can make them pump with the kick and snare beautifully. Yeah.
And this one introduced couple of features that I love. For example, we have the mid and side selector here that we can influence the mid and the side differently. Even though the ratio will remain the same, but everything is independent. We have the mid and the sides here, and this one also adds us the mix, the blend knob.
Which is great,
Yes, exactly.
That's where plugins have made the hardware industry think, oh, we need to do what plugins can do.
Absolutely. So imagine that, over compressing, adding in a drum bass track, and then mixing and blending the signal to bring everything in front of the house. So
great.
It's amazing. I love this one. It's my favorite.
Superb.
And here we have the Soundtech Recreation. This one is a fluid head one. This one is exactly. We are developing the mastering version, which we have it over there with some different things.
So it's recallable and
yes, sir. This one sounds amazing. You can see we have 5-band here. The 2 bottom one on the low frequencies are equal, so we can affect pretty much the same range of frequencies. We have the middle area, and then the high frequencies with 2 bands also equal, so that we can then not be limited to only work with one brand. This one goes up to 40K.
Okay, fantastic.
So, there you go. And then if we go here, then you will see the new coming up things. Okay, so here we have our Soundtech style EQ, the mastering version. But this one has a couple of things over here that makes it even more special. Because you can turn it into a very color and character one just by pressing these knobs, where you can just boost the signal that we put into it. And it can be very versatile. If you want it to be transparent, if you want it to be more Soundtech, you can have it, but you can also have that, that bad behavior, that bad boy behavior.
Bad boy behavior.
Yeah, with these little knobs here. Same thing. We have 5 bands of frequency that we can. Same thing on the lows. Same thing on the highs. 2 different knobs to control the frequencies in the middle way, and we can work also in mid side.
Mid side. Okay, great.
Exactly.
What do you got going on here?
Yeah, this is like our brain. It's a console. Kind of console where we can select and choose how do we want to configure our chain in the mastering section. It's also a monitor section that we have here. And here we can control pretty much the width.
I like this. This is jumping out. How much?
This one is going to be for the value of $33.99. And then if we move here, we have a very nice section which is almost here. We're going to be able to sell it pretty soon. Here we have our compressor.
Altec.
Exactly. So you know this one.
I have a 436, and a 437.
It's a very nice compressor because the sound
is fun.
Yeah, you can push it and it works really nice. The sound is so creamy, so interesting.
I'd like to try this out because the Altecs, the used market's gone through the roof, how expensive they are. And they never were a very particularly expensive piece of equipment. So I'd like to try this out. How much is this?
That price is going to be $1666. A very round number. You won't forget it, for sure.
I definitely want to try this out.
Absolutely. We'll be more than delighted that you can take a look. This is our Pultec style EQ. This one has a very special thing going on here, which is we makes it a bit more wide in terms of frequency, because we can go from 1K up to 16K. And this one is going to be available pretty soon. Also, and again, all of our equipment, most of them can be personalized. This one is...
I was about to say,
Exactly. You can have it in the original green color, but you can also add your colors. The knobs can be also changed.
Great.
And here we have another piece that maybe might look familiar to you. Really nice preamp, mono stereo, and sounds really good. I was testing it and it sounds amazing.
Beautiful.
What's up, everybody? Steve Maggiora here, and I'm here with Matthias Stromberg from Milab and Pearl. And I'm really excited because I don't know very much about these microphones, and I'm so excited to learn about what they have going on here. So please tell me about the company, about what you guys are doing, and
Sure. I'll keep it brief.
Perfect.
So Milab was founded in 1941. Actually, Pearl was the original brand. And was one company until 1979 or something. But when they tried to expand internationally, there was a problem with the name Pearl, which was, well, as you know, already in use, even though Pearl is actually older than Pearl drums.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
So the company was split in two, with Milab being the front company, the marketing company, and Pearl being left behind. But that ended up splitting into 2 completely separate companies and stayed that way for 37 years.
Wow.
And then the owner of Pearl He's starting to get really old, so he sold his company back to Milab. So in 2017, we became one company again. So now
What
we're
a
one.
beautiful reunion, man. That's great.
So that guy that we bought Pearl from, he's
Yeah.
been working for us since 1954.
Wow.
When he was 18. And he's turning 89 this summer, so 89.
That's incredible.
So when we bought the company back from him, the owner asked him if he wanted to sort of end his career with a signature mic. So that's the tube mic we have here at the front.
Lovely.
So he designed, during COVID, he spent more than 2 years designing his own tube mic. And that's the last mic he ever made. He worked for 70 years with microphones.
Wow. So this is the pièce de résistance.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And the unique thing here too is we make rectangular capsules, and we've done that since the 1950s.
Oh, fantastic.
So that's the one you found in this. That's a condenser capsule.
Yeah. Wow.
If you want to see that.
That is beautiful.
And the regular rectangular capsule is this one.
Fantastic.
So one of the
Learn
things
from
about
the
this
best,
capsule is that you get asymmetrical polar patterns.
Wow. Okay.
So this is it's nice and smooth in the horizontal plane, but it's really tight in the vertical plane. So that means you can control what you're recording by how you place the mic, which is
Fantastic.
I think is pretty cool.
Yeah.
You have the power supply made by the Andreas Grosser company in Berlin, because we make microphones, not amplifiers. Like
yeah.
that, so. Okay, so here we got the bulk of the microphones. These are mixed Milabs and Pearls. You can see the FET version of that mic we just saw. That's the FET version right there.
Fantastic.
But one you might recognize is the Milab VIP 60. I don't know if you've seen that before, but
I have seen it.
Yeah.
I've never worked with it though. That's
the
cool.
predecessor there, the VIP 50, was picked up by Quincy Jones and Bruce Woodine in the 90s, and that was the vocal mic for the Dangerous album, Michael Jackson.
Oh,
and
fantastic.
a bunch of other albums as well around that time.
Nice.
And then a few years ago, we actually sold, like, I think 4 of them to Drake, or his production
Okay.
team. So we that started a new thought. Well, maybe we should redevelop that mic and redesign it and get the noise level down to modern specs. So in 2021, we released this one, where we cut the noise level by about 50%.
That's incredible.
And that's our straight up studio vocal
Yeah.
mic. But one of the cool things about the rectangular capsule is that we can make really small, large diaphragm mics like this one.
Wow.
A multi-pattern large diaphragm mic, and it's just super compact.
The smallest large diaphragm mic that you're going to see. This is beautiful.
Pretty cool.
It's incredible, man. Love that you have the polar pattern switch on there too. It's
And
awesome.
with that shock mount, it's just a really tight package.
Fantastic. So,
Right, so we're actually giving away a Pearl handmade Swedish small diaphragm mic called the Pearl Clarity. It's a super mic that you'll really compact, about the same size as the VF44, that I think
Fantastic.
you will love. Handmade in Sweden.
Awesome. Oh yeah, everybody, we are here with Dave from API and so stoked to check out this new summing mixer. So, Dave,
Yes.
tell us all about
Cool.
this new beaut.
Well, so this is the new ASM 164 analog summing mixer. It's actually based off of the summing side of a box console,
Nice.
which has been really successful for us. But we recognize that there's a lot of people that want summing but don't have room for a console, or maybe not the budget, or for whatever reason they want the API analog goodness in their summing chain. So what we have is a 16-channel summing mixer with 2 stereo buses. So you've got A and B assignable here. You have detuned gain control. We also give you a hardware insert on every channel.
Oh, fantastic. Nice.
Over here, we give you the ability to switch between the meters between A and B. You can bring an external input in on A or B or both if you have another summing device that you'd like to add to your mix. And then there's a hardware insert on, if I haven't already said that, A and B on both your buses. One of the cool features we also took from the box is this 0 dB bypass. It's global 0 dB, so it bypasses the pot there, so it's unity summing at that point. So you got your mix in the box, you want to bring it in. You also
Fantastic,
redo the gain
nice.
structure. So we're really excited about this. $31.95 MSRP, which we think is a fair price
That's
for API
super fair,
sound.
yeah.
And they're going to start shipping right after the NAMM show.
Fantastic. Man.
We don't announce things until they're ready to ship. So.
Oh, I love that, man. Oh, it's so cool. Well, congratulations on the release.
Thanks.
So go check this out, the ASM 164 summing mixer from API. And Dave, thank you so much.
Yeah,
man.
of course. Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah.
You know, you've been doing a bunch of stuff. I remember you were in Nashville at one point, and you were doing that kind of stuff. And then, sorry, I'm dredging up the past now, but
Start crying. It turns into a group therapy session.
Yeah.
No, Nashville was cool. I was there for a while. I was signed with a publisher to write a lot of country music, which is very weird knowing what I do now. But I think as you develop, which is what we are going to talk a lot about in this talk, as you develop, you just don't know yourself that well in the beginning. So you try a lot of stuff, and for me that was trying country, which I had a good time and I learned a lot in Nashville. But yeah, I think it became pretty clear pretty quickly that's kind of not where I was meant to be. So I moved here and got into writing K-pop, which was kind of interesting because my publisher at that time, which was a Nashville-based publisher, said, hey, you really need to start becoming successful. We are paying you, and where are your country songs? Get cuts for maybe somebody who's not super familiar with songwriting industry means have artists record your songs. Just do it. It's funny because it's not as easy, but I felt so pressured. I was oh, well, I think I'm just going to. I'm going to have to. So I started looking up where do people take songs? Which genres, which artists take songs? And I realized, in Korea, people just accept songs that somebody writes.
Yeah, that's a big dynamic, isn't it? Because in Nashville, and the same in LA, your only real chance of getting a cut is if you do it with the artist.
Yeah, and that's a catch-22 if you're a new songwriter. Why would Carrie Underwood write a song with you? She won't. So you kind of end up spinning and writing stuff, and even if it's really good, I understand it. I'm an artist too, right? Jules, you're an artist right there. Sometimes you wouldn't want to take a song, even if it's really good, it doesn't feel like you. It's rare if it actually feels like you and somebody else wrote it. So I understand it from an artist standpoint before a songwriter and producer. It's man, how do I get...
From a business perspective as well. Unless it's an absolute smash hit.
Yeah.
If it's just another album track, write your own one.
Yeah, that's what it is. And even the hits, you guys, and sometimes they just don't want them because they didn't have a hand in them. Right. So, but Korea is totally different. There's a ton of labels, more so now. Every year there's more and more and more. And they're we need songs. It's very much the opposite. So they're please send us as many songs as possible to check out so that we can pick what fits us. So, yeah, it's crazy.
So, but how do you crack open that door? You moved to LA and you've thought, Korea could be great, but how did you even get introduced?
I will be honest, it was kind of a little bit of pirate attitude because I was I need these cuts. I'm keeping this job at my publisher. So my music partner and I just went on Facebook because this was 2015, and we just wrote producers and songwriters that were already successful in K-pop, and we didn't know this at the time, but that kind of creative side of the industry, people are really open a lot of the times, especially to top liners, because even though I'm a producer now, at that time I was producing less and top lining, writing songs more, lyrics and melody. So it was actually a good pitch without us realizing it was a good pitch for us to be hey, we're a top line team, here's some of our work. A lot of people were oh yeah, sure, here's tracks. And because they had relationships with labels and we did it and we did a good job, songs got cut very fast. We got one of our first cuts within 2 months of doing that. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and it's kind of also, I like to call this the convergence, where everything kind of comes together at the right time. The skills, the timing of, the industry and what's going on, where you are at, who all of that comes together. And that's what it was. I think we just were a really good fit for that market. We wrote,
you and Ellie.
Me and Ellie, yeah, we just wrote girly pop songs, and that's what they wanted for female groups, and they just really fit. So, it's a lot of the times I've seen these convergences in my career. I love when they happen because you just feel kind of everything I've been working for is finally materializing, because very often than that it's I have the skill but I don't know the person, or I know these people but my skills don't match what they're doing, and so it's nice when things come together. Yeah.
No, it's amazing. So you went in initially top lining over already produced tracks, which I can understand as a producer. You might have a lot of stuff just sitting on your hard drive.
Yeah.
And suddenly now
so
someone's going to bring it to life.
If somebody writes you, like a lot of times I just recommend people just write people, especially if you have a good skill. Even if you don't have any like industry credibility or whatever, if you're good, that is valuable. I'm always like, it is kind of valuable. Like even producers, like, you know, not like ghost producing for a more well-known producer, but like producing with them, maybe taking the bulk of the work away from them because they're very busy. Skills are good. Skills are very valuable.
Did you guys see that thing? It was Luther Vandross, and it was about David Bowie. And you know, he was recording in the 70s, and actually Luther Vandross was one of the backing singers, and then he started making suggestions, and then he was just kind of singing some of the lines, and David just went, wait a minute, that's the chorus, and then brought him up and stuff like that. So it's like you're saying, it's like, okay, on the one hand it's a finished track and you're kind of putting your input, but it's, if I understand you right, it's just finding your way in, right? You know? And
yeah, it is. It's like, I literally wish I could come up with a formula for doing this so I could tell, you know, make people feel more comfortable, because it does feel like the Wild West, especially in the beginning. You're like, how do I get from this point A where maybe I don't have enough skills or I don't know enough, I don't know anybody. I'm from another country, I'm from Russia, and when I moved to the States, I knew exactly one person in the States and the entire country. So it feels very demoralizing and kind of like, how do I even go from here to anywhere that I want to be, even remotely? So I do wish there was like more of a formula, but I do think like, yeah, if you have just something to offer, like for example, a lot of top liners write me and they're like, hey, I really want to work with you. I listen to their work and I'm like, the songwriting's not quite there yet, but you have a really good voice. And I go, you have a really nice voice. Maybe if you invest time into becoming a really good vocal producer, recording your voice to where it sounds great, you have a really great vocal chain, you know how to do different effects on your voice. Even if your songwriting doesn't improve, I will put you on songs that I write just so you can demo it and I don't have to spend 6 hours demoing. And I've done that with people. So there's always like a way in if you have just one good skill. And of course, if you have more, like the more opportunities. And
you'll develop them as you...
Yeah, and the thing is like, what's really exciting, guys, is you really can develop skills for free. These days, you don't have to go to college. I didn't go to college. You can learn anything. You know, I learned video creation and content creation in the last like 3-4 years. I did not know how to edit videos. I didn't know how to record videos. Like, I didn't have a camera. My first videos were just with an iPhone. I literally didn't even know how to record my screen properly, or like the audio of my DAW. So it was whatever the phone picked up in my room. It was bad. It was not professional. But I started and then I learned all those things. And, you know, I work with wonderful brands like Audio Movers now, and like anything that you learn that you want to do, you can learn these days. You really can. There's
a bit of a thread between both of you, which is like, I think it can be intimidating. You guys are kind of, you know, you're sort of saying, oh, do a bit of this, do a bit of that. But I mean, Warren, you know, you played in bands, you've been on like the Curry Enemy, and then you're being a producer and, you know, working on huge records, and now you're king of YouTube. I mean, like, so it's...
I don't know about that, but thank you.
King of YouTube.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Own it, I like it.
Now I'm coming for you. No, okay. But like, but you know, there is that thread, and I don't know. I find it can be intimidating, which is like, now it's like you got to do it all. You gotta be able to do
definitely.
It all.
I think I agree with everything you're saying. I should give exactly the same advice to people. People, I say, what do you do? And they say, I'm a guitar player. I'm like, and they want to be a producer and a writer. I'm like, well, you know, play guitar for people, offer your skills up. But vocalists actually is a really strong suit. If any of you are singers and you can comp and tune and do all that stuff on your own vocals.
So helpful,
Very
even
helpful.
for other singers, right? Like, I'm a good singer. I can't sing as many songs as I write. It takes a whole day, and you know, we're busy. So if somebody was like, hey, like, I'll sing your songs for a % of your copyrights, I'm like, literally, if you're good, here. I'll send you like a really bad demo that I recorded in 5 minutes, and if you like arrange all the things, yay.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And comping.
Comping.
If you can comp and you can tune vocals.
Tune, yeah, you just literally send me BGV track, lead track, effects tracks. I'm like, ooh, yeah. I don't have to do this. Great.
Yeah, because that's incredibly time consuming. Because when you're in a creative flow, you can actually come up with something quite quick. It's almost like, you know, when you're songwriting and you write the first verse and the chorus, and you can't for the life of you finish the second verse or the bridge.
Yeah, that happens.
You know, but that first initial idea might be done in an hour.
Yeah.
And then it takes you a week to finish the other two
parts. But even that, Warren, too, right? Somebody, if they're really skilled, they can come in and finish your song for you. I've done that with people where, you know, you start a demo and it kind of gets lost in the weeds because you have like a million other projects. And I send it to one of my people and I'm like, yo, can you just like literally finish this for me? I work with a team in Australia where they produce, they write, they sing, and I just go here. And then I get like a really great demo back and I just, you know, co-produce, finish by phone. I just leave like voice notes like, hey, you know, tweak this, and it's great.
Yeah, everybody knows successful has just teams.
Yeah, it's really hard to do things by yourself. It's kind of impossible, to be honest, especially y'all, like, just the truth. If you're really young and you watch all these other young people, like, killing it, lies, all lies. All people in their teens and 20s that look like they're killing it have teams. They have people with way more skills than them helping them. Even if they're, like, a little genius and they, like, are amazing, they are not doing everything themselves. That's a fantasy. So, yeah.
Random sort of running joke that like there's some guy like we should get the person that we're doing like the worst things and just have them tune the vocals all day long. You know, just like get a bunch of prisoners.
I'm so sorry for them.
Just have them tune vocals. Rehabilitation.
That would do it.
Yeah, but then I know like on the engineering side, it's like, I mean, David Young and Kim, it sounds like a tried story, and I promise it isn't, but I was like, how did you kind of first get put on? And he said, well, he already knew what he was doing, like, 'cause he was ready for that opportunity. He could mix, he could do it all. He's Grammy-winning mix engineer with Nas, among other people. And I said, what was that first time where you got to take that seat? Because as you know, in a studio, you can't put your voice up. Sure. You can't make mix suggestions, it's like, right? So it was his job to get lunch. Right, he's got to go to Chick-fil-A, and he's like, if you're the assistant of the assistant of the assistant,
oh yeah,
that's your time to like call your girlfriend, you know what I mean? Like chill out, get a coffee. And he was like, no, my boy works at Chick-fil-A. I'm gonna text him, and I'm like, hey man, I don't care what you're doing, I need it now. And he came back 10 minutes later, and they were like, what? You've got the chicken already? And he was like, what's your name? And it's like David, and it's like, mate, let's track some vocals.
Yeah,
That's what's up.
Yeah, I know hundreds of those stories. Dave Jordan was a big mentor of mine, and he would go and do those talks at LARW and Craft and all the big music schools. And at the end of the talk, of course, all the questions were always the same, and an obvious one, like, what's the most important thing you need to know in the studio? And he said, take a good food order. Because if you can't do the basic thing that you get asked, nobody's ever going to elevate you. So if they say go and get your Chick-fil-A and you come back with McDonald's, you know, it's pretty much the end of your career. I'm joking. But you know what I mean? Nobody's going to go, yeah, he should be, you know what, he should be co-producing this song. You know, you just need to show off at every element that you can, every moment, the opportunity you can.
It's true. I just think it's like really obvious when somebody brings something valuable to the table, and it really doesn't have to be like your name or like you're famous, your credentials, none of that stuff. Like it could just be like you sing really well and you play guitar really well. That could be enough completely.
And you also don't know where it's coming from. There's been so many times I've written a song, co-produced, produced, engineered, mixed, whatever it might be, and it is now multiple years later. In fact, it just happened to us
Don't you just hate that?
last week.
You're like, why does this come out of the woodwork? See, like my like controlling butt, I'm like, I can't. Like, I need to know what's going on with these songs. Very, very hard, but it is like that, isn't it?
Yeah, this is terrible, and I hope he's not watching this. There's this massive TikTok artist, and I can't remember his name. Sorry, but do you know Leanna James in LA? It's a great writer. She and I wrote a song called Name Dropping, and it's like a country pop song about 12 years ago.
Whoa.
And it's using Jim Beam, Jack Daniels, so it's the joke. It's kind of a bro country song, you know, name dropping, talking about different whiskeys. And he's that kind of singer. He's like friends with the brothers. One of them's the boxer. What are those two brothers?
Yeah,
exactly. He's friends with them, so he's all part of that kind of macho kind of thing. And he's got like a bro country thing. And of course, he heard the song and he wants to cut it. And so Eric cut the drums on it. Where's Eric? Hey. Eric cut drums on it last weekend and he came in and sang it. And it's a 12-year-old song.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Yeah, there's one right now, which I think is really funny that I'm finishing. It's for a movie in Thailand. It was not written for this movie. It was literally like a K-pop pitch demo, and they took it for the movie, but they asked me to rewrite the lyrics to be about a werewolf because the movie is about a werewolf. So literally my collaborators and I put like, like wolf sounds in it. Like, no, I called it like animal, changed it fully. So you just never really know. You know, it's one of those things though, I think about this a lot. I maybe am like a little bit of a weird like creative artist person, but I do like to create stability in my creative and business life. Maybe a little bit of like off topic of development, also kind of not, because you're developing more than just your artist or your career and your future too. And I think so many people will just tell you to like grind it out, just like work on your art, on your music, on your skills and like nothing else. But to be honest, I think setting some time aside to work on your business skills is also really good, because
people skills.
And people skills as well. Huge. You know, because for me, for example, like I've been doing this for God like 20 years now. I look young. but it comes to a point where I'm like, yeah, like I'm successful, I can make a great living, but I want to have more security, more steadiness. You know, you start thinking about like future stuff, and you're like, yeah, I want to buy a home, I want to make investments. So for me now, I'm like, yeah, I have to separate my creative time and my like, you know, I'm really investing into just creating this music versus, you know, business moves that I'm making within the music industry and creating things like, you know, working with brands, working on a course, which I'm creating right now to help, you know, newer, younger producer songwriters. So this is something that I think is also really, really important thing, because the time really goes by fast. And, you know, if you're just focused on singing or playing guitar, you're really just tied to that skill. But if you're also investing in your friendships and relationships and into other sides of the industry, like
well, lots of people in your
business.
position, Toby Gadd, you know, years ago, like 20 years ago now, as soon as he started having hits, start getting young writers and start publishing people. Are you moving towards that?
Yeah, I've done that for a little bit. I don't want to have a publishing company. I just think it's a really tough business. Like, maybe I'll change my mind in the future. Right now, I mostly just like do single song things with people. But yeah, you know, it is one of those things. I see a lot of, you know, young people, and I'm just like, I know it seems really boring, but do take a little bit of time, maybe set aside like 2 hours a week for you to educate yourself about business things, because otherwise I see this a lot. I will not drop this name. I would be insane to drop this name, but I literally am talking to somebody who's a huge singer like 12 years ago. You guys will all know who he is. And he is flat broke and is needing opportunities and is like really struggling. So that's a really big thing, like working in parallel on your art, you know, on your development as a musician, investing in your skills, but also investing in your knowledge. Because, you know, something also happened last year to my music partner. You know, she was in a record deal that was really tough for her, and she, you know, she left that situation luckily and worked out. But things that are so much worse than that happen. So the more you guys educate yourself on those things, the better it is. Not to scare anybody, but just to be really, really, really aware.
I have a lot of friends that were tied into publishing deals and never actually broke even. So they're stuck in a publishing deal.
No, and then they don't get paid.
Yeah,
and then they
paid.
can't monetize their art, their writing either. Yeah.
Hello, my friend. How the devil are you?
How are you? Good to see you.
Good to see you. How's your show been? We're just wrapping up on the last day.
It feels good. I gotta say, NAMM 2025 is starting to feel back to normal after the pandemic, and yeah, it's been very busy.
Yeah, this is the last day. Normally it's a ghost town, especially in the pro audio part.
Yeah.
You know, it was never the busiest. This is packed.
And it's a good vibe. People seem positive. The last few years, people have felt a little negative, like with COVID, NAMM isn't what it used to be. I feel like we're kind of almost there again.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Somebody said to me yesterday ago, Yesterday they said, Saturday's going to be the new Sunday. I'm like, no, it's not. Not at all. This is busier than I've seen it in years.
So
great.
true, yeah, because Sundays it used to always kind of die down a little bit. And, yeah.
So what's new and nutritious? What are you doing?
Oh, man. Doing lots of things. I think the most recent release was our 1176 refreshes.
Yeah,
so
we're halfway through doing our videos.
Okay, cool. So we've got Blue Stripe Mono, Blue Stripe Stereo, Rev D Mono, Rev D Stereo, and added some features like Wet Dry and Sidechain High Pass Filter. And so those just came out, I think it was November. That's exciting. But the big announcement for the NAMM show is our 5-year extended warranty. So we are doing a 5-year warranty on 100% of WARM products. Our cables will remain lifetime warranty.
Nice.
But, you know, that's just our way of saying, you know, we've got confidence in what we're doing. And
5 years is huge.
Yeah.
Covering everything, all parts of labor?
100%.
Can't really complain about that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, and we've really honed in our process. When I started the company, it was just me.
Yeah.
It went from spot checking units here and there to 100% checking, and we've got a really great process, a whole team that checks every unit before it goes out, and multiple point inspection, and even computer testing for curves on compressors. It's come a long way. So we're very proud of what we do, and we're trying to let everybody know we take this very seriously. So.
That's awesome. That's a great announcement, isn't it?
Yeah.
We could be looking at some compressors and twiddling knobs, but 5-year warranty. I didn't actually know that. Is it? Did you
Brand new, no, it announced at the show.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
So I'm not a complete idiot then. Only a partial one.
No, it's new.
No, well, that's amazing. So we're back at Elysia with Ruben. How the devil are you?
Good.
You good?
Thanks to see you. Good, nice to see you.
So what have you got? You want to tell us about something new?
Yeah, here we have the X-Max. It's our master bus processor.
Yep.
And it's a multi-band type, but it's a little different. It's not a typical multi-band.
Yep.
So we have here an MS processor, and the mid-band is also split into a low band and the rest of the spectrum. Therefore, we have 3 compressors going on, low, mid, and side. So this is here the controls for this.
Yeah.
Then we have here a control for the crossover frequency between low and mid. Then we have a global release for the compressor.
Yeah.
We have a variable link from unlink up to full link of all the 3 bands, which is very unusual. And here we have the corresponding makeup gains, so you can attenuate or boost this thing. That we can use it as a low EQ, and as well the side can be like a stereo expander or maybe make it more mono. Then we have a nice high shell filter here, and our famous soft clipper from the Alpha, and then an output control. And this is, this is really a lot of features in one box, but it's like mastering in one box a little bit.
I don't know how you do it. I actually don't know how you can actually figure out to do what you're doing here. So
it came from the Alpha basically, because we have MS compressing going on with the Alpha.
Yeah.
Then I thought, okay, let's also keep the bass under control. Therefore, I make the split into the mid to also control the bass with an own compressor.
Fantastic. How much is this going to retail for?
So this is about $2,000 retail, but we also offer this as a 500 series for $1,400, and also in the Cube ready to go for $1,600.
Nice.
Yeah.
So we're Austrian Audio with Sebastian. How the devil are you?
Hi, I'm fantastic, thank you.
Good. What do you got that's new and nutritious?
So this is OC 10. We have built a really big microphone. We try to push for a really clear, really open sound.
Okay.
So we are using our CK-R12 capsule. It's again the dual capsule. We are selecting the capsule to get the best sound. It's the upper 10%, really tight limits. And we built the whole design, the whole mechanics to be as open as possible, get as less reflections as you can get. So if you take a measurement of the capsule alone and you take a measurement of the whole microphone, it looks pretty much the same. We are really happy with that. And after the capsule, you run through some electronics, high sophisticated, discrete, high transient, fast electronics. So you got a lot of clarity, a lot of details. Again, you got the option to switch polar patterns.
Yep.
You have the pad filter, the pad, you have the filter, 3 options here. And at the end, you got 2 outputs, and the 2 outputs are the big XLRs. So You don't have to need to use any adapters or something.
Okay, great.
Of course, if you use both outputs, you can use our plugins to adjust the polar patterns in post-production and stereo images. We have some nice accessories. This is a pop filter. It pops on like this. It's magnetic. Yeah. It's metal foam. So some.
Oh, it's interesting. I didn't know it was metal. I was looking at it, I thought it was going to be soft foam. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, with the metal, we tried to push it because we were disappointed about sound of classic pop filters.
Right.
So we were trying to find something, about material. Yeah. So we found this material. Of course, you can bend it, and you have the curve shape. You have no reflections or less reflections between the diaphragm and the pop filter and the mouth, because there's always a topic doing vocal recordings. As you know, you got a lot of interferences with the reflections. And of course, this microstructure also helps, about diffusion, about, all reflections going all over the place.
How much is this?
So all of this with the pop filter, microphone, and the suspension is going for 3K.
Okay, so this is your flagship mic, basically.
That's the flagship, the new flagship.
Beautifully, and it is the OC S10.
Yeah, that's right.
Mr. Matt Lang, how the devil are you?
Mr. Hewer, I'm doing wonderful. Welcome to my section, not mine, but this is the section.
Yours. He owns it. This is him.
It is actually my 5150. No, but technically it's Fender's. But no, there's the section of the PreSonus booth that I put together. In the last few months, I started running the partnerships over at PreSonus, and being a part of the Fender company has been really fun because I get to, as a guitar player, as we all know, I get to really influence a lot of guitar stuff within our little Studio One world.
Combine the Fender and PreSonus world together.
That is the thing, and the thing that's really special about that relationship is that PreSonus is obviously Studio One is our DAW, and we're the only DAW manufacturer that's actually a music company.
Good.
Everything else, you look at all the other competing DAWs, and they're tech companies.
Right.
We're actually run by, we all are musicians, but we're run by musicians, and there's a cross integration there that's really fun and joyous. So, for instance, on our new interfaces, which came out last year, you guys even covered them. I'm gonna get rid of this amplifier thing. That is a amp sim that comes with Studio One, but we now have reamp outputs on the Quantums, which you guys covered, and nice. And allows you to really easily reamp something and take a DI and run it through an amp, run it back in. Super easy. Mic pre's are really hot, 75 dB a gain and auto gain and all that stuff. They sound really phenomenal. So the idea is to be the best in class interface, and in my very biased opinion, they are.
Okay, good.
On top
you can be biased.
I am biased. Then we have an Atmos system, of course, using the Aris Pros.
Nice.
And even in the confines of a convention, I was shocked by how good it sounded even before we had Dolby come and tune it. So that was great. My personal favorite part of all of this is this little 5150.
Oh, of course.
2x12 with I got one of Misha's, Jackson's, and a Hello Kitty guitar strap. The best part about having this.
Yeah. Nice.
Yep, right at the booth.
At the booth.
Being nice and metal, which is wonderful. And that's really what we got going on. A ton of presentations from artists. I'll be doing one later today about Dolby Atmos.
Right.
And it's been popping. A lot of people here.
Charles from Cali, how the devil are you?
I'm doing okay.
Always good to see you.
It's the last day of NAMM, so I'm surviving.
So what have you got that's new?
Okay, so this show, we have a new model in our SM series, or Santa Monica series, the SM8. Nearing production, and it's everything that the SM5 is, but now with an 8-inch woofer, higher output, a little bit lower distortion, all the things that you would expect, the ability to calibrate a room and put coefficients in the loudspeaker, EQ, trim, and delay, high output, low distortion.
Great. And I see you are partnering with Sony here.
We are.
And you've got an immersive area set up, and is it all SM8s?
It is all SM8s.
Nice.
We were able to help Sony with their 360 demonstration this year, which is a great opportunity for us. And we're happy to be of any service we can.
Fantastic. Great. Well, Charles, thank you ever so much. Always amazing to see you.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
Good to see you.
So I'm here with one of my favourite people, Nia, at Sound Radix. Pink Floyd are playing in the background. Well, they're not, but it's Barefoot next to us, so it's a little loud. How the devil are you? Good?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm good.
Awesome.
Saw you briefly yesterday walking by and got to shake hands.
Yep. I guess talking about Metamatic today.
Okay.
Yeah. So Metamatic is a free plugin that automates.
Lovely.
Yeah, automates the talk
We
with
use
microphone. Awesome.
And we love it.
Good to hear.
Yeah.
So there's quite a bit of aggravation and right, and from when you work on the studio.
Yeah, exactly.
Just forgetting to click on the talkback button on the console.
Yeah.
So Metamatic basically automates that whole process. As soon as you stop your DAW, the talkback mic will open. You'll hit play. It'll close and no interruptions.
Yep.
And you can talk whatever you like in the studio without affecting the vocalist. Also cool, very cool for like if you have like long effects, if you have like long delays or long reverbs, and you like them to pause when you stop.
Right.
That way, so it just not keeps ringing.
Well, we like it for podcast stuff because so what we do is on Fridays, Eric and I will do feedback Friday, and we listen to people's tracks, and we put the Metamatic down the bottom, so we're talking. As soon as we press play, boom, it's gone.
Awesome. That's very cool.
So we don't have to automate. We don't have to. He doesn't have to remember to pull the fader down and mute the thing because and you can just start and stop the track. Yeah, it's great. You've had it for years now, haven't you?
Very cool. Yeah,
it's a very cool plugin.
What I can tell you, and that's a scoop for you.
What's the scoop?
Metamatic Studio is coming.
Metamatic Studio?
Yeah.
And what's that going to do?
It's going to do some cool stuff.
Okay.
That I can say, but it's coming. Hopefully this year, yeah.
What's up, everybody? So excited to be here at the Sontronics Microphones booth. Sontronics has a rich and illustrious history, and we got the opportunity to talk with Sam, who is part of the new ownership of the company that's taking it into this next era. Really excited to talk with Sam. So Sam, why don't you take it away? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So Sontronics is 20 years old this week. So a very
happy anniversary.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So 20 NAMMs back to back.
Wow.
And for those that don't know, so Trevor and Lisa Coley, they founded the company in 2005.
Mm-hmm.
And in that time, they've obviously developed a number of products and established the brand as a really well-known place for quality products that's based on very accessible pricing. Starting to build some new stuff, adding our own stamp into the R&D process, production, some slight changes to various parts of the company structure in marketing, sales, order management, logistics.
Yeah.
A real overview of where we were yesterday, but moving towards a new vision to take the brand for the next 20 years into the future. So using that strong heritage legacy, we're very keen to continue that basis and hopefully share that good news with more and more people.
Fantastic, man. It's so cool. Well, we're really excited that you're here. We're really excited to be here. And I'm really excited to check out all of these microphones and toss some headphones on.
It'll be very well.
And try it out.
Our NAMM giveaway actually is the Saturn II, which is one of our flagship products. Really high value prizes.
Yeah. This is gorgeous, by the way, and I'm very excited to hear how it sounds.
Yeah, so a mixture of different elements from design and technology as well. So this actually has 9 polar patterns.
Incredible.
Yeah, so we're actually mixing between the actual standard patterns, finding the space between them. So using a digital process where we're providing extremely consistent voltage production to the capsule. So creating those differences is extremely accurate. So there's a very, very, very minute difference between each model. So inaudible. And that variance allows us to really control the voltage control to the capsule.
Oh, being able to blend between the different polar patterns is going to be so cool to play around with, man. Yeah. So we're going to have the link to the Experience Center down here in the description. which I'll get here in
So
just a second.
that's central London.
Central London, yeah.
If you're not in London or the UK, come anyway.
Yeah.
And we'd be happy to welcome people.
That's amazing. Well, Sam, thank you so much, man.
Pleasure to meet you. Thanks very much.
Pleasure to meet you as well. Awesome. Yeah, everybody, we're here at QSC with Jason.
Hello.
And this company is near and dear to my heart. I've been working with them for over a decade, and their product is just absolutely incredible. As a performer, as a songwriter, in rehearsal spaces, in playing on boats and at strip malls and in venues and in pubs and everything, QSC speakers and everything that I've done work with you guys has just made my life so much easier. So, awesome. And you guys we're going to get into that in a little bit, but very excited because QSC has just released the new KC12, and this thing's amazing, comes in black and white, and tell us a little bit about it.
Okay.
Insane.
All right, yeah, so KC12 or K column, it's this guy right here. It's a 3,000 watt, three-way loudspeaker system, sort of packaged to look and have the aesthetic look of a column loudspeaker. It's fundamentally different than traditional column loudspeakers in that we are not using a series of inline drivers, 2 to 3 inch drivers, which many of them do. There are a couple issues that kind of happen when you use drivers like that. In close proximity, you get phasing issues. Also, drivers that are that big, 2 to 3 inches, they're not really designed to produce high frequencies. So you lose out on a lot of the clarity and vocals and things like that, especially if you try to get it really loud. It's just going to start distorting and you're going to lose a lot of clarity and things like that. So we kind of reinvented the wheel here. Instead of using the inline drivers, we're using a 1-inch compression driver, and I can actually we got a grill off version here. So there's a 1-inch compression driver in here paired with this leaf waveguide, which we first designed for our L-Class line array. Now this waveguide allows us to utilize the compression driver and keep it in a very, very small and tight enclosure while still getting maximum performance out of it. This waveguide allows us to have a lot of throw while maintaining a lot of clarity in the top end, especially in the vocals and things like that. It also controls the coverage pattern. So with this, we have a 145-degree horizontal coverage pattern, which is very wide.
That's insane.
Yeah, right? It's insane. But we have a 35-degree vertical pattern, so it keeps the vertical coverage really tight and kind of confined to where the listener's ears are going to be. So you're not going to get reflections off of ceilings or dance floors and things like that. So it's very controlled. But with the wide spread, you can cover a lot of ground with it. And then underneath the waveguide, we've got 2 4-inch high excursion mid-range transducers. So this is essentially a point source loudspeaker kind of packaged in a really small, thin package. These guys perform all the way down to the crossover point of the subwoofer. So there's no gap in your frequency response. It is a complete system. You get really high output, high performance, and quality from a system of this form factor that's never been done before. The whole thing's powered by a 3,000 watt amplifier that's got power factor correction and a universal power supply. We're dedicating 2,000 watts to the sub. This is a 12-inch subwoofer in here, high excursion, direct radiating. It's got a lot of thump. It's got a lot of low end in here, and with that 2,000 watts, it really can hold up at high volumes and high SPLs. And 1,000 watts is going up to the top unit, which I talked about. So 3,000 watt total system. It can produce up to 132 peak SPL at 1 meter while drawing less than 2 amps from the circuit. So it's a highly efficient Class C amplifier technology.
Which means that you can use it essentially anywhere that you have one outlet.
Yep, especially with the universal power supply, literally anywhere, it'll get going. You got loud, clear sound. It's got Bluetooth connectivity, so you can pair a device directly with this. You can also pair multiple units together, up to 4.
Wow.
Nice. The wireless connectivity is really good. You got true wireless stereo if you're using 2. And then really high quality, low latency connectivity when you've got 3 or 4 as well. You can assign them to be a stereo right or left or remain mono. So however you want to set up your stereo field, you have those options in there. Ton of other DSP features. We've got an EQ in there. We've got up to 200 milliseconds of architectural delay if you're setting up delays and things like that. A number of input presets. Both of the main inputs, we got A and B. They are combo connectors. We got XLR quarter-inch connectors. They have individual AD converters. So you can actually recall different DSP presets for each input. So I think it's about 11 input presets, output contours, depending on your application. We've got, default, live, a cinema mode, one other one that I'm forgetting right now, but a lot of DSP built into this thing.
Cinema mode is giving me some ideas for my apartment.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
I've played with it. You can do some fun stuff. But I mean, so yeah, this is it. This is the KC12. We're really proud of it, and it's a high-performing piece of equipment. Yes. Portability. Yes. You got me there. Okay, so super easy to connect together and take apart. So we're just going to separate the top unit from the extension pole there. You notice we've got custom connectors in here, so all of the wiring is internal. So as soon as you connect this to the subwoofer, it just goes. You don't need to hook up any wires between the subwoofer and the top. Just that easy to put it together.
And you makes things so much cleaner to look at too, which is.
You can do the half stick mode.
Nuts.
So if this thing's up on a riser, up on a stage or something, you don't need like the super high height. You can do that. And it comes with a carrying case. Excuse me, I'm gonna go. So this is included. You get this nice carrying tote, which houses the top unit and the pole. So it's very, easy to carry it around. The sub has a handle on the top. The sub weighs 48 pounds. Fully constructed, it's 60 pounds. So it's very lightweight, easy to move around, easy to carry. Packs into a car or a truck really easily. Highly portable, really big sound.
And when I was doing a lot of gigs, most of my setup, even for like up to a trio, was literally like I stopped carrying sticks and stopped bringing speaker stands.
Yeah.
I just ended up putting my K10.2 just on the floor, facing out at the audience, filled up the room, and everything with that. So with this, it's going to really change the game to get better sound with still not having that much to be able to carry around, being able to do it in one trip, being able to do it with less cabling, less things for people to trip over. Bluetooth connectivity is going to be amazing because you can, when you go on set break, you don't have to worry about like running back and, changing stuff there or having somebody knock over anything at your setup. And just really, really excited about this. I did get to test out the handle too, and great job on the design of the handle because it's so comfortable to carry.
It's nice and ergonomic. It's comfortable. Walk around.
And
I walk around carrying two. I'm not a big guy. I can get it done pretty easily. Yeah.
And if you have a cart too, it stacks up.
Yeah.
Really, really great work, man.
Thank you.
Really, really pumped to test this out.
Yeah, we're pretty psyched about it.
Yeah. So we're here with Brian from Mantra, and really excited about what's going on here. So can you tell us what you do?
Yeah, well, we basically do instruments inspired by video game engines in terms of how they work inside. So really trying to go in a non-linear way, creating things that breathe and feel alive. So our instruments we started with actually about 3 years ago. They're all ultrasonically sampled. We travel all over the world and make sounds out of objects and environments and things in really creative ways. But you play with the instrument and they're reacting and playing, kind of coming alive on their own. So that's the main product line for instruments. But this is a preview actually. This is the first time we're ever showing to the world. We've been working on this for about 3 years now. And this is the most advanced reverb ever made, and also the most advanced spatial reverb ever created in existence. And I can confidently say this because it's insane how it runs. So basically, it's based on ambisonics. So we're running at 36 channels per IR.
Wow.
So each IR is actually 36 channels.
Yeah.
You are able to load 3 IRs in a bus, and then you're able to run 5 buses simultaneously. So right now, this instance is running 540 IRs in real time. And the magic about this is that it's actually running, Living Sky here is only running 1.5% of one of the processors.
Wow.
Because it's all running on the GPU. It's running on the NVIDIA GPU. And then basically you're able to move around in space. It's got 64 inputs. You can run it. You can run as many tracks as you want into up to 64 channels. For instance, you can run as many instances as your GPU can handle, or just insert it depending on your workflow. It works beautifully for stereo, but then you can just literally just click and you've got all the formats and output to whatever format, up to like 5th order ambisonic X, So basically, you can do Dolby, whatever format you want. It will be the highest resolution. You just choose it, and folds down beautifully as well. But there's more to it than that. This is not just a reverb or a mix or a spatial mixer. We've got actually an interface here. So if you see here, these are the tracks here. You're actually able to control it and move it around in space, visualize where your mix is. And at the same time, we have, with what's going on here, is actually a whole modulation matrix. So actually, I'll switch here, you'll see this. So basically, you're able to modulate and automate any parameter to your heart's content.
That's
I'll
incredible,
just pull up
man.
the session actually here. This one actually, you've got up to 32 modulators. And you can even make, let's say, like, this flute track, I want it to be the amplitude of it, we envelope follow it, and then drive, whatever parameter you want to with it. And move between spaces, we move between hours, whatever you imagine. So that's why we call this a spatial instrument. It's not just a reverb.
Wow.
It's like so this is the future. It sounds, well, you'll have to listen to it.
I'm so pumped to listen to it.
It sounds beautiful.
Yeah.
And then we also spent, many heartfelt months and years figuring out how to sample in this kind of resolution in a high waist, in like a ultra high resolution. You're able to also bend down the IR. So I'm actually resampling live on the spot here, and it's sampling, and it's like doing all the calculations ultra fast. Hundreds of convolutions at the same time. Like this, just like literally resampled 540 convolutions seamlessly.
Wow, man.
And then we can expand on the space, but the IR's sources are such high resolution that when we bend them down, they actually sound really good also.
Nice.
So yeah.
That's so cool. That is so cool. Brian, thank you so
Living
much.
Sky. Yeah.
Living Sky. Oh my
You guys
gosh.
want to do immersive mixing, you want to explore the advantage of this tool, you don't have to sit there rendering, being limited. You can go nuts in real time, think of the most crazy ideas, move it in space, and it's there.
And just let the creativity flow. You don't need to.
That's the
oh my
idea.
gosh, that's incredible.
We're here with Mr. Warren Hewart.
Who?
You. Did I pronounce it right?
You did, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I wasn't being facetious. I was just like, who's that?
Who is it? It's this guy right here.
Where is he?
He's everywhere.
I just got to look at that thing. Yeah, you can ask me about that.
Yeah. What do you want to do
You
that?
tell me.
Yeah, well, that's a nice segue. That happened organically. So
Yeah.
you had a chance to check out the More You unit.
Yeah, I did,
What were your
yeah.
thoughts about it?
I think the idea is brilliant. I was with Joe Carroll. Where is Joe? Joe Carroll. I think he did a runner. Well, I think, Stevie Wonder was just round the corner about 2 seconds ago. So everybody left to go and see Stevie Wonder, which is quite understandable. I did too.
Right.
No, look, it's a great idea. It really is. It's interesting, though, because I get asked the same question now that we're nearing the end of day 3 by everybody. And the question is, what have you seen that's new, interesting, and actually inventive? And so far, I've said nothing. Because, but what I do like at the moment is hardware manufacturers are starting to incorporate software so that people don't have to buy third-party stuff.
Right.
You noticed a lot of that stuff? It's really good. But this actually is interesting, do something different idea.
Right.
And it's surprising it's taken so long for somebody to think of it. So what you've got, and I've only been tipped to this for about 20 minutes ago, is there's a master unit. They're connected with what looks like an AES EBU style cable, like an XLR cable, digitally from one to another, and controlled from the master, and each individual musician will get the ability to control their mix, but also because it's in situ, meaning I'm out in the live room, I'm playing electric guitar, my amp's down there, the mic goes straight into the unit itself and then digitally into here. So I think it's a really cool idea. I think, you did this, Joe? Single-handedly, it's all you? And he said yes.
He's inventive. He's an inventive guy.
Yeah.
And he's been in the field, so knows the problems that come up and the challenges.
Yeah.
Even the cable reduction, the amount of cables it saves, like where one unit can power a bunch of other ones.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
But I also like this sort of idea of limiting the amount of gear you need.
Amen.
Because it's sort of like all in one, the ability to have mic pre's, converters, reduction in cables, etc. There's something I love about I know you and I probably have exactly the same musical taste. I think we do. We
do.
We talk about, like, you know, Ronnie James Dio era Sabbath actually being, you know, kind of the best. Who said that? You know, I love the first Black Sabbath album. It's amazing, but Heaven and Hell, it's absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
My point is like, you don't have to toe the party line all the time. It doesn't have to be just because everybody else tells you it's right. And I think as much as I love analog equipment, and I do, there's nobody in this world that loves analog equipment more than me, I do want to see innovation.
Right.
Because I don't feel like if you're a 13-year-old now who's just discovered some amazing album and it makes you want to do music just like you and I did, I don't know if you necessarily have to learn not redundant things, but things that are just going to sort of like take you down a little bit of a rabbit hole, when really modern technology allows you to use all that information, use all of that ability now in a much quicker and easier way.
Yeah, well, I think that's the thing, to just keep moving forward. And, you know, each new generation comes along. My kids were at Best Buy the first time, my daughter, and she's trying to swipe on the flat screen TVs. And I go, that's where she's starting from. Like, it's a screen. Don't you just touch swipe? And so, yeah, to really take that and go, okay, we have all this information. Let's take what's good about it. And then if we can simplify something, now let's move on. And, you know, you being in this industry, you have the era you came up in, which we love, the vinyl, the analog, all that. It's awesome. But practical and like real world right now, what is really moving this thing forward? You know?
Yeah, I mean, I've had this conversation 1,000 times about plugins. You know, does a kid need to have an emulation of an LA2A? Do they need to have, you know, 47 different types of compressor? Or should they just buy a plugin that has all of those kinds of sounds available to them without having to understand or read a novel to know what it is? It's like, I want people to have tools that allow them to be creative. And what I like about this, I haven't yet used it, everybody. I've only known about it for a short period of time. But what I like about the principle of this is, like you say, the uncluttered idea, the simplicity of it, the less need for equipment and cabling and everything. And the fact that I think every musician in the room is going to feel empowered. But it's also interesting because it means that it's encouraging people to play together in a room. Woohoo!
Wow. Now there's an old school idea that's worth keeping.
There's an old school idea. It's definitely worth keeping. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, and we talked to the guy, someone who's front of house for Filter, and Filter goes on tour with Rob Zombie and Alice Cooper and Ministry, and they're the first band on. They get no sound check. They get a 15-minute setup time, and he's looking at it going, wait, so you mean everybody can just plug into one of these and chain it? We don't even need to involve the monitor guy, and we can be set up in like 5 minutes, have our in-ears, run a line out to the front of house, and we're done. And it's sort of like the light bulbs are going off. You know what I mean? So
yeah, it's a great idea. Yeah. More power. I hope that it does well enough to keep going and be refined and become something that's pretty standard. I hope Joe's got some strong patents on this.
Oh yeah, I think so.
Did he hear me? I said, Joe, I hope you have some strong patents on this. You do? Okay, good. Yeah. Good.
Yeah. So
what else do you want to talk about? Heaven and Hell, Black Sabbath,
right? Yeah.
James
So
Dio.
you know, the side 2 starts off with Slipping Away, and anyway, let's talk producing just for a bit.
Sure, let's do it.
Generally, for someone that doesn't know what a producer does, and I meet a lot of musicians and guys in bands that don't really know what a producer does.
Right.
They think that the guy in town who has Pro Tools is a producer, right?
Sure.
So what is a producer's kind of range of jobs for someone who doesn't know what that is?
Oh, it's such a great question. The best answer I've ever heard, and I can't remember who said it, but the best answer I've ever heard is a producer is like a film director. Because people are much... It's why DIWs do so well. People are visual first. They really are. Obviously, we have our 3 senses, and visual seems to be dominant, let's be honest. And so if you equate it to that, think of let's talk about some archetypal kind of directors. Tim Burton. What is Tim Burton about? It is about how it looks. He builds a world. He builds everything, the costumes, the everything. And I've heard him interviewed, and he said, I wouldn't know a good script if it hit me in the head.
Wow.
So he's all about the visuals, and then he relies on other people. Then you've got somebody like a Shakespearean actor like Kenneth Branagh, for anybody who knows who that is. And he is all about the script and nothing else. He's all about the actors' performances. He wants to get the most out of them. And when you watch his movies, you think to yourself, oh my God, this is like, he brought out this amazing scene out of this moment. So you've got these two extremes. Well, that is basically what production can be like as well. You can get the Rick Rubin kind of conceptual, I've done months of pre-production with Rick and the Chili Peppers, and Rick would come in and go, I really like that, but I want it to be more Duran Duran. And so Flea starts playing like octaves, and then it sort of like throws a little bit of a spanner in the works. And then there are other guys. I remember, what are they called? I just want to die, put your arms around me, baby. What was that about?
Sugar Ray?
Sugar Ray. They were at about a similar period of the Chili Peppers. They were in my studio, and they were doing, they were working with David Kahn. And David is like the opposite. You're jamming, and David's like, whoa, what's that? What did you just play? And you play the beat, and he records it, and then he goes back and builds a loop with it. And then you're jamming some more. He's like, well, what was that guitar part? Oh yeah, and then he flies it in, and then he's like a fifth member of the band, so he's like sitting there and he's helping to build the tracks, he's helping with the arrangement and the co-writing and everything. So that's really the thing with production, is it's so vast. Sometimes it is. Well, Dave Jordan, my old friend, we both know and love Dave Jordan. He has the best line for it, or the best phrase, where he just said to me once when we were making a record, he's like, sometimes you've got to rewrite the song, change the key, change the tempo, change everything about it. And other times you just got to get out of the way of the band and help them make a great recording. And the skill, I think, for any great producer is knowing when to use your skills. And there is a place for a style, of course. If you're a great modern metal producer, there is a place for it, and there is work for it. But if you really, really want to work, you've got to be a George Martin, you've got to be a Rick Rubin, which means you've got to be genre-less. You've got to be able to do, Dixie Chicks and, Toxicity. You've got to be able to do those two extremes. You've got to be able to do, Magical Mystery Tour and Blow by Blow by Jeff Beck. You've got to be able to understand, all these different genres. And I think that is really the modern way, because now that we have this incredible technology where any idea that you imagine can actually be done, you do need a high skill set. You need to understand your DAW. You need to know every single trick so that you don't actually have to think about things.
Right.
So, yeah, it's a having, as you're saying, the kid that has the Pro Tools or whatever the DAW is, it's definitely a good start to being a producer. But
right.
Yeah.
It's a whole other range of stuff. Because Jay Rustin said to me in a conversation one time, he goes, well, it's just all you need is an opinion. And I go, oh, okay. I mean, Andy Warhol produced Velvet Underground. Okay, so yeah,
Sure.
you could say that. But there really is, much more to it. I think to do it well, right?
Yeah, I know what Jay was saying, so I don't, yeah, you're right. But at the same time, if you're doing like he does a lot of modern rock, it's probably, maybe it starts to become formulaic. I do know people that are making consistent, Howard Benson makes consistent, great, heavy rock records and rock style records. And if I was in one of the bands that style of music, he would probably be my number one choice for a producer.
Right.
No two ways about it. And I also have a lot of respect for Benson, because you and I both know where he came from. He came from, in the 80s, working 100 hours a week, working with every single baby band that was trying to get signed doing metal. And he did album after album after album. And now it seems like, oh, it's so rote and easy to do. Yeah, it's because he's paid his dues time 1,000.
Right.
But I think ultimately, whatever your DAW is, just know it backwards so that you aren't just sitting there trying to figure out how to do something, so that you can take that creative idea that either you have or your artist has, obviously, and do it in the quickest way possible. But it's interesting, you see, when I interview somebody like Ken Scott, as we're both huge fans of, obviously, yeah, Ziggy Stardust, Hunky Dory, you name it. When I interviewed him and I asked him anything technical, he's like, I don't remember. And he doesn't not remember because he's old and doesn't remember. He doesn't remember because to him it wasn't what was important about what he was doing.
Right.
It was like, Bowie wanted to do this, this, and this, so I had to facilitate it. I remember asking Jeff Emmerich about those, the D19s, those overly priced hipster kind of, AKG mic, that Warm have just done a really good recreation of, quite frankly. But, I said to him, why did you use those mics? Because they're not like amazing. They're not bad.
Right.
They're basically AKG's version of this. Before this existed, just an inexpensive dynamic mic. I said, why'd you use it? And he goes, because it was plugged in.
Right.
Because John Lennon, Jack will tell you this, I'm sure he has, John had ideas and he wanted them recorded. He wasn't like, well, let's go and audition 3 different mics and see which one's best for the situation. And I don't know if the tape stock is right. You know what I mean? It's just like, no, I want the idea down. So understand the gear you have, know it inside and out, and remember the most important thing is the idea and the creativity.
And talking about the mindset of someone in that room, in that recording studio, whether you're, producer or like working with Jack Douglas on something, and really just focusing on serving that song and getting that song. And so you might be dealing with an artist who's 16, first time in the studio, nervous, scared, super uncomfortable, and then you might be dealing with someone in a rock and roll Hall of Fame band who's been
Ace, that we both have worked
okay,
with.
say, or who's been in the studio a million times and they're cranky and they just don't wanna.
Yeah.
And so how do you shift those gears and keep your ego out of the way and just kind of say or do whatever you have to get to that place?
Great question. I would say the best answer for that, honestly, is distraction. I love distraction. It's one of the best tools of what we do. It doesn't mean that you have to be Andy Kaufman meets Robin Williams, but having a bit of fun, and I don't mean like, well, here's a joke. I just mean taking the pressure off can be absolutely amazing. For every record that somebody tells me, and I've got great stories that I've experienced and people have told me about an artist like in pieces, crying and doing this performance, and then I can tell you 1,000 which are the opposite. Quite often when an artist, as you're pointing out here, is cranky, tired, doesn't want to be there, or completely terrified because it's the first time ever in the studio, you need to get them out of that moment.
Right.
And sometimes that's just like, I'm stupid anyway, I'm foolish and silly, and I'm always, little nerdy, I think everybody who loves music is. We're all, we were on a tangent about Heaven and Hell by Black Sabbath, what's that got to do with what we're talking about? We could probably do that for another hour.
Part two,
yeah. But my point is like you take them out of that zone and just let them actually, relax and be in the moment. Distraction is really, really good for that. And so, and also knowing, I talked about this yesterday, I was doing a talk and it was wonderful because Paula Salvatore was there. So she was like doing Paul McCartney stories and like, all the different Capitol artists. And the story I told was about working with Steven Tyler on an Aerosmith record. And he was working more hours than God sends. He was coming in at 10 a.m. in the morning till 12 or 1, something like that. Then going off and filming American Idol. And then coming back at 7 and working till midnight. And we were doing that 5 days a week, all during the series of X Factor. And then he'd come in on the weekends as well.
And he's what age at this point?
He's 68 then.
Doing that, okay.
Yeah,
so.
he's 70. He might be coming at 80 this year. But yeah, so at that point, he was 68 years old and he was working, 15 hours in a day.
Right.
And also having to be multiple different kinds of people. Camera guy, hey, I'm on American Idol. And then like taking it seriously, all these different kinds of stuff. And I realized after 1 or 2 days of doing all this vocal tracking, that nobody actually told him he was doing a good job. because he's Steven Tyler. Nobody needs to tell you you're great. I mean, you've sold 100 million albums. No, he's a human being like everybody else. And it was like day 3, we were tracking, we got to the end of the night, it's like midnight, we just finished the vocal, sounded great, he did an amazing job. And I said that. I just said, that was awesome. That was great, love that second verse, love that thing, pointed some stuff to him. And he just had this huge grin.
Right.
And it's not because it came from me, it could have come from you. It's just the fact that like human beings are human beings. So we have to remember that we all get nervous, we all get overwhelmed, we all that. Just try to remember what it's like to be in that situation. Right. And it can also be empowering because then you can remember that somebody's come and hired you to do the job, and you can get yourself back out of that fear that you have as a producer and engineer and realize you also, they're there, they've hired you, so maybe own that a little bit more and not be quite so terrified yourself. But distraction's the way. I love being silly. I will, if I'm trying to get another take out of somebody, I'll be like, hey, let's do another one for the kids. And then you've done it with me. Let's do let's do one for the kids in Chile. Let's do, you know what I mean? It just gets sillier and stupider. And then they start making up things to say. And the whole time what you're doing is taking them away from being like, oh my God, did I do that in time? I don't know if it was in tune. Nothing worse than having a singer who's thinking about whether they're in time or in tune. Like, right. And it starts to sound like everything is like this and beep,
Well, and I've told a lot of musicians, every time, and I, do a session with you, I can see you guys through the glass, and you're like, yeah, give us a second here, we got a thing. And in my head, it's going, Matt sounds terrible today. Do we have anyone? Can you call Greg Bissonette? Because it's like you just imagine
Matt Chamberlain.
There's right, yeah.
Victor and Drizzo.
Yeah, that would be fine with me. And so like, the musician is thinking the worst possible things when there's that silence, right?
Cameron's really good at that. Where are you, Cameron? He was here earlier. Cameron actually does the talkback. He uses Sound Radix plugin. What's it called? We just were seeing them. The talkback plugin, that when you press record or play, it mutes, the Mutamatic.
Right.
He uses that. He keeps it on the whole time. So basically, as soon as the track stops, the musician hears the whole room live.
Oh, that's very kind.
It's very kind, very smart. I mean, Cameron is a great producer, and he also has probably been beaten up. He did how many Motorhead records?
Yeah, right.
Like 12 Motorhead records or something. I know he did the last 6 in a row, and he mixed all of that live stuff and remastered it. I mean, if Lemmy is out there, God rest his soul, if Lemmy's out there smashing away on the bass, and you go silent on him for 3 minutes, basically it's not going to happen.
Right,
So he probably learned the hard way. He's done Social D records, Pennywise. I mean, he's working with bands that are like, they want to know, and they don't want to be like. So I like that. I try to keep it down, keep the button down. I've got the foot switch, under the console, all those things. Try to involve the musician, and don't, because sometimes it's just because somebody's frickin' wants to make a coffee order, and you're sitting there thinking, oh my God, they hate my part, when really it's like, where can we get like a really good latte? You know what I mean? Not too foamy, Yeah.
So a 10-minute discussion on coffee beans, and then
oh yeah, we've all been there.
Yeah. So, want to just touch on an engineering question? I'm sure you get this one a lot.
You should do more of these. You're better than most people that actually interview me.
Thank you. What's the most common? Now I'm in my head. Okay. What's the most common engineering mistake you see from young engineers, or tracks that you get, and you're like, this is it phase? Is it low end? Is it?
Well, there's 2 answers to that. The most common mistake is not being fearless.
Just playing it safe.
Yeah, it's like worrying, like reading some forum or listening to some friend of friend who's like, oh my God, you can't do this, you can't do that, and blah, 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 blah. And then you get the tracks. I got a record once from Ben Wysocki, as he says, from The Fray. He sent me a record that he had produced and recorded, and it was really nice. The problem was, it was really nice.
Right.
It was like I put it up on fader, and it was like sing ding 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 boom chap boom chap, and it was just like supposed to be a freaking rock band. Nobody was like pushing anything. Everything was like in time and in tune and everything. And I called up Ben, and he's like, "Well, let me put you in contact with the engineer, you know." And I was trying to be really nice, but you have to be, you know, people can get very touchy. But this was, you know, Ben wanted his engineer to do a better job. They'd used all my miking from the Phrase studio. I'd left it all up. They'd never taken it down.
Yeah.
And I was like, how can this sound so tame? How can it sound so nice and pretty? And he's like, well, I didn't really like the API pre's, and I didn't like the way it was like pushing, and my head's like, what? And he's like, so we've got all these Grace preamps, and no disrespect to Grace, but he was like, and everything was like the gain, like at least 10 dB away, about ever overloading. It was never ever going to add any coloration.
Right.
It was so clean. And also all I did was just basically put it back through my console and smash the schnizzle out of it, so it had some personality.
Right.
And I think that there's so much talk of like, linear phase, distortion, saturation, clip, bloody, all this stuff that people talk about constantly, so that everybody is afraid to do anything wrong.
Right.
And they won't commit. They won't get a sound that's just like explosive and exciting, you know. So that's the first thing when I'm getting tracks to mix, is I think I'm getting sent them to mix because they're just not recorded badly. They're recorded safely and uninterestingly.
Yeah.
And then as far as, I just want you to commit. I want you to have fun. Oh, I'm seeing her. Barry Rudolph, ladies and gentlemen. I saw everybody looking up there saying, who's more interesting that we missed?
Right. What's the score of the game? So boring is the first mistake, kind of
uninspiring, I suppose.
Yeah. No, I get it. And then how about, is there a technical mistake that you see people, they just don't fundamentally understand?
All right, here's a really silly one. Okay, and I think this is a music school thing that I've seen a lot with assistants and interns. And now I try to head it off at the pass when I've got a young guy or girl who's helping. I'm like, I don't care if it clips a couple of times. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, if the vocal, the guitar, the bass, whatever, the drums go down and it goes red light, 10 seconds later, red light, I don't care. So what? It clipped 5 times. They're like, but when I was at school, they said you should never clip. Because what will happen is, I've had it happen to me. I'm like tracking, and suddenly the snare drum disappears. And the assistant thinks that he should be clicking it down because it clipped twice. And what he doesn't understand is like, I am pushing that mic pre really hard to get it to sing, to get it to sound great. And now the whole sound has changed because for 2 nanoseconds, it went clip. But that's what my teacher told me at school. You should never clip. No, you must have watched like mix breakdowns with people who know what they're doing, have been doing this for years. And what's always the comment underneath? I can't believe how like the value meters are pinned and it's all these red lights. I was told not to do that. It's like, yeah. And then being afraid to EQ. Don't be afraid to EQ. Just because, there's somebody on YouTube shows you there's a phase shift when you boost and cut. It's always been there. Every record you've loved has always had somebody aggressively EQing it. And it looks like there's phase shift, but what does it actually sound like? It's like Harrison actually have just brought out this channel strip where they're very proudly saying that you can boost frequencies, and when you high pass or low pass, it will actually cause a phase shift, which will give you a little bit of a resonant frequency. We love that. That's how Dave Jordan got his guitars on When Allison Changed to sound so mathematically huge, is because he basically went and boosted and cut at the same frequency, so he got this like little pip. So it's got a low end bump, a little high end bump, and then it goes like this.
Right.
It's like a little fits perfectly in there, and it is a phase issue caused by using the EQ aggressively on the SSL. But that's half of the reason why we like that guitar stuff. But if you were to do that and show it on YouTube, you'll get 50 comments of people going, I can't just show you the phase shift. It's like, what did it sound like? So I think the biggest thing is be fearless, have some fun, be aggressive in your EQ and compression stuff. And if you're a little terrified, print a DI and reamp it.
Yeah, and use your ears.
Use your ears is the
your
number
ears.
one, yeah.
Use
There
your
you go. He just surmised the whole talk. Use your ears. Thank you.
No. So now I want to talk about the education side.
The education?
Education. I can't, the amount of access that you've given people to studios, to other professionals thinking, records, techniques, like it's immeasurable. It's huge.
Thank you.
It's huge. It's huge. And so when did this, and I remember, coming to sessions and you'd be like finishing up a video. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you working on? But can you tell me like where that idea came from and kind of the reason behind it?
Well, it started off as logical. My wife noticed that people always hit me up and ask me questions. And that's been like my whole unbelievable life. I don't know why it is. And I actually have no problem with it. I suppose it's just because I like people. I also don't mind. I think you might be this as well. I think a lot of musicians, we're introvert extroverts, yeah?
Yeah, right.
Like I bet you can be the center of attention and then go and hide in a dark cupboard and you're happy in both situations.
Some days putting on shoes is terrifying, but then once I go out, I go, oh, that was great. I gotta do that more. Yeah.
Introvert, extrovert.
Yep.
I think that's all great artists. Look at Freddie Mercury.
Right.
On stage, was there a better performer on stage? No. Don't even try to argue with me on that one. I mean, the greatest live performer of all time. I don't think there's a person alive who doesn't think that Live Aid is the ultimate live performance. And so here he is, this incredible live performer. Then you see him interviewed when he's sober and he's like, yes, darling, yes, I really like, what I mean? It's just, boom, it's boom, boom, boom. And I've always felt like I like connecting with people on things that I love. Don't ask me about a question I have no real idea of. But if it's something I love, I can be like, yeah, we were walking back to the car last night and somebody didn't stop me. I was like, we were walking. I was like, just walk with us, and started asking me about Johnny Marr's guitar sound. Started asking me about, I want to buy a JC120. How do you get the distortion sound from that period? And I'm like, yeah, all those guys, John Maggiora, one of the greatest guitar players ever lived that nobody really knows about. John Maggiora, I was like, I saw him play live at the Armory Show from Stuart Jobson from the Skids, and I was like, JC120, Marshall Half Stack, AC800. I said the metal guys in the early 80s did not use the ACM800s, they used JMPs. But all the indie guys, for the heavy sound, use the 800, and for the clean sound, use the JC120, and then just add an A/B switch, and that's how that was the sound of all those great guitar players in late 70s through to mid 80s, and it was just so much joy to talk about that. You know what I mean? So the idea of doing the channel was like, my wife says to me, "That's you. Why don't you try and take it to a bigger audience?" And YouTube really. It's an interesting one because we didn't monetize for a longest time, didn't even put ads on the videos. Only because when I first went on YouTube, I used to hate having to watch a bleeding ad to learn something. The problem is, as soon as you start talking about other people's music, you have no control over it anymore. They take the advertising revenue. So, the more we started like using examples and playing other people's music, now we have ads on everything. It is what it is. It's totally fine and all this stuff. But to me, it was organic. It was my wife pointing out that that's who you are, why don't you try it? And we did. And it just sort of grew from there.
It's giving her props.
But, I love it. I really do. And as long as I'm not actually physically asleep, you will get a rational answer from me.
No, I think it's a great answer to any question, which is like, you're going to be talking about this stuff anyway. If someone's like, hey man, what about this tube versus, you're going to be all into that conversation. Why don't you just do this in front of everybody?
Yeah, I also, I'm selfish, just like everybody else. As long as it hits a point of something I love, I'm okay.
Right.
And when people ask me, it's not a number one question, but it's a top 5 question that I get asked over the years. And you probably all have thought this question at one point. How do you work on music you don't love? I get that all the time. And then other people say, how do you work with artists that aren't that talented? And I'm always say, I make it so I love it. I make it so I love it. And to be honest, you know, you play a lot of instruments as well. I like when somebody comes in and they've got a half-decent song idea and they're a fairly good singer, but they need the song to be rearranged. They maybe need some co-writing. They need us to play on it, all that stuff. That's good. That fulfills a lot of things that I love. So I didn't get into this to be easy. I got into this to because I loved it. For me, I don't know what your album was, and everybody knows, but my album was A Night at the Opera. My dad bought it for me for Christmas. I was really little, far too young to understand, and I just was like, this is amazing. And I remember looking at, you know, the inner sleeve with all these guys with long hair, and I remember reading it says no synthesizers, and I didn't know what that meant, but I knew it must be cool. Right. And then, of course, I found out that everything I was hearing, all those kind of like brass section, clarinets and everything, was all Brian May on guitar. Right. You know, and I loved it. You know, Good Company and Seaside Rendezvous, and then of course, Prophet Song, and, you know, Bohemian Rhapsody, obviously. And to me, it was like, so I fell in love with music, you know, to be blunt, before I knew anything about girls. Right. You know what I mean? So I didn't get in a band to be like, hey, man, I'm in a band. You know, I just was like, I loved music. And I think doing what we do, we're junkies. We're just trying to relive that all the time, that feeling.
Well,
what was your record?
Kiss Alive 2. Opened it up, Love Gun stage, they're on risers, smoke, sparks, dudes looking cool. And to your point, yeah, before girls. So I go, I don't even know what this is, but when those risers come down and the sparks stop, I want to be there in that thing, that world, whatever that is. I knew they played music, but just the whole thing, that's all I wanted. And I've never had that feeling before or since about anything, you know?
Yeah.
And so my wife asked me, why do you have 7 copies of this record? It was Cheap Trick Live at Budokan.
Yeah.
And I go, well, this one's a US promo. This one's a UK version yellow vinyl. But the truth is, I just want to keep buying that record. So if this is a version I don't have, I get to go to the counter, plunk it on the counter, pay the guy, and go home with a copy of this record. And so, like you said, being the junkie, like, let's just keep doing that thing again and again and again and getting that feeling, you know?
Yeah.
And I love what you said. Again, I just want to like reiterate on what you said about why you do the channel. Because I think so many musicians and probably people in general, like, why am I here? What's my thing as a musician? What's my voice? Or as a person, what am I doing? And this is one of your things is, you know, produce like a pro. But again, well, you're like, well, I like this. This is exciting. And I'm just going to now share this with the world. So again, little message. If you have something you're passionate about, just share it. Don't keep it to yourself. Share it with other people, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we are in a very fortunate place that we get to do what we love. Now, it is a lot of bleeding work.
Yeah, and it can be scary, the ups and downs.
It is exhausting.
Yeah.
It can be financially rewarding and financially stressful as all HELL. I mean, yeah. But there's nothing better than kind of hanging out, like guys like us. Like, there's 5 of us hanging out. Wonderful. Yep. Absolutely amazing. Like I said, I'm not joking. Let's talk about heaven and hell. It's just like, you know, Mob Rules. I know you're a Mob Rules fan as well, which I do like, but Heaven and Hell came at a time in my life that was just like, oh, Neon Nights. First time I heard that guitar riff, I was just like, wow.
Yeah. And Bill.
Yeah.
That was the last one with Bill, too.
Yeah, amazing.
So, thank you for taking the time. It's nice to talk to you on or off a mic, as always, you know. And we would go do sessions. And he'd say, oh, you know, get here at 10. I'd show up at 10 and we'd talk about World War II and, you know, Sabbath and guitars and family. And then it's like, should we do some recording? Yeah.
And then we usually, no, not schnizzling you, we'd probably do 1 or 2 takes and then we'd be done.
Right.
Yeah. The thing is, when you're at the level that Matt's at, and I'm sure many of you here as well, it's like, it is about just kind of getting in the zone, you know. the great session players, by the way, are not the ones that can do the hemi, demi, semi quavers and stand on their head and spin around and play bongos and gongs and all that kind of stuff. They're the ones that sound like they're in the band. And I think that is not said enough. I think because I don't think it benefits anybody. I think it benefits people to talk about, there's one of the problems I have with music education, whether it be learning an instrument or learning the techniques to record, etc., is teaching those techniques to the nth degree. And I sometimes feel like when I'm watching videos of breakdowns of songs and the Lydian, Phrygian, Crygian, Mixolydian, it comes across as a way of saying I'm superior and I understand and you mere mortals don't. When the reality is like most of the music that we love was made by people who had a command of the knowledge that they had. And sometimes in like AC/DC, I'm looking at this fine young guitar player over there. Hi there. Who does a lot of great AC/DC stuff. I see him on Instagram.
There he is. What's up, buddy?
And he'll attest to it. Some of the greatest songs, AC/DC songs, TNT is E, G, A, G, A, G, E. And then what is the chorus? A, G, E, 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 E. So it's the same frickin' 3 chords. Just E. It starts on E, and then the chorus is A, G. It's just like, and it's TNT. It's in a pantheon of best guitar rock songs ever.
Ever.
Yeah, and I don't think Angus and Malcolm and Bon Scott were thinking, Phil Rudd, thinking, you should have gone to the Lydian.
They might go to the B for the chorus. Maybe. For the solo. Maybe.
Yeah.
Or maybe not.
There was a great quote in like 80 bloody blah blah, where Angus Young is being interviewed by, I don't know, Guitar Player, Guitar Magazine, one of the big magazines. And I bought the magazine. He was on the front cover. And he jokingly said, he goes, I am the only guitar player in the world that has made $1 million playing the same guitar solo on every song.
Right.
I love that. Obviously we all know it's variations, but he's just saying the ideas I have and everything, I just repeat them. And they don't get old and boring. So I think it's like, that's a thing that we need to sort of remember is like, limitations aren't a bad thing. Pushing the boundaries of your limitations and learning new things, don't get me wrong. Keep evolving, keep growing. But don't live in fear going, well, I saw this video and this guy's really clever and he was talking about like, think about the guy who's really clever and then go, well, wait, that really clever guy, has he actually written any of the songs?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just like, you know what I'm saying? It's cut yourself some slack. Give yourself a break. You can do this. You really can. Just put your heart and soul into it and you will succeed.
I don't think there's anything to follow up with that. That was great. Thank you. You guys weren't who are.
Matt Starr, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. Matt Starr. Woo! Matt!